Well, I've worked for the council all my working life since 1975. Started off working on the scheme, dealing with the contractors before it was actually built. Moved in there in 1977, moved out in 1986 while it was still in existence, but we moved to another office. But then I was involved with the preparing the tender documents for the demolition. So I've seen it through from really inception to funeral, I suppose.
I started working the egg box in 1977 and I started working City Treasury as a post clerk. And it was, my memories of the egg box are that it was a really big space, quite officious at the time. And it was quite a modern building, it was quite prestigious to work there. I thought it was a really good experience for me as a young teenager as I was then.
I think it was the first year it was opened I moved in there to work, which was, I think it was 1977, and saw it through to its end really in the early 2000s. And I worked for housing mainly, in the housing service.
It was known as the egg box as one of the nicknames because of the shape of it. The outside walls sort of went in and out. It was a strange shaped building on plan, based around three sort of stair cores, all open plan, which was again quite. It was sort of the vogue at the time, I suppose.
Can't say I ever took to it, but now that I see pictures of it, and I hark back and I think, oh, yeah, actually it looked quite interesting, but I'm not sure Sheffield was ready for that kind of architecture at that time. It looked like a lunar moon module. It was like an egg box turned upside down, or a couple of egg boxes stuck together. I
think they soon got dated. You know, again, you look at maybe the older buildings like the town hall and you know the ones like I see in the library. You know, I think they've got more character and the more longevity as well. It's it had a sort of short shelf life, the architectural style.
But in terms of the internal fittings, they were sort of state of the art at the time, but then suddenly, you know, 25 years later, nothing had really changed. So it was a massive orange carpet, which had got a little bit dog-eared perhaps in the interim period, and some very, very garish looking wallpaper.
As time wore on, I think it probably got associated with what they used to call in those days sick building syndrome. It was probably partly because of it was a sealed building, air conditioned but not brilliant, because you know it was an old system, and of course people smoked in those days, so it was not a very healthy building, but yeah, it was good to have everybody together.
The building itself was all open plan, and what I remember about it was people tried to cordon off their areas because they didn't. New open space and open plan was a new concept, I think, in the 70s. So there were lots of areas cordoned off by bookcases and screens and cabinets.
It was a vast space, really. There were no individual offices. There were meeting rooms on the first floor, possibly the second floor if I remember rightly as well. But it was very much an open plan building, which I suppose we've taken that for granted to a certain extent over the years. But in sort of 1970 Sheffield, you know, I don't think there were many buildings like it really.
There was a big entrance ramp going down to the basement, huge basement, sort of almost a two-storey basement for car parking and storage and everything. And it ran right through to almost near the Roebuck. The other ramp came out where the Q Park is, and there used to be a pub near there as well that had various guises, I think Bar Rio at one time, Yorkshire Grey. So you know, quite a big building, and width-wise as well, sort of where the gallery and the legal offices are and the hotel is. So it filled quite an area.
On the roof, there was a terrace and there was a lounge area, so staff could go up there in the break time, and I think that was quite forward-thinking for its time. I know they put the wedding cake, the register office at the back of that, and I think that was some attempt to try and bring the new architecture together, but I'm not sure that entirely worked. So for me, it was good memories, but the building itself, I wasn't entirely keen on.
Yeah, I think it provoked a lot of comment either way. From my point of view, as I say, I thought it sat quite nicely in the Peace Gardens, and it was a building of its time, really.
I think when you look at this area and the new offices in Millennium Square and the Peace Gardens, you know, it was time for a change. I suppose it had a fairly short shelf life when you look at the town hall that's still there from the 1890s, whatever. But it's, you know, you got the hotel and the Winter Gardens and everything. So it's, yeah, you sort of miss it, but it's changed for the better, I think.
It came and went, and the fact that people still talk about it, I think, must mean that it was dear to an awful lot of people's hearts, I think. And I suppose absence makes the heart grow fonder, as we say.